Yes, we're
Yeah,
live.
looks like it. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, we're actually live.
We are.
Yes. Okay. So, should we wait like a couple of minutes to let people join
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. So hello everyone. Just we'll give people like 5 minutes, just so they can come
Mhm.
in. As you come in, let us know where are you coming in from? Nigeria, Ghana, wherever, India, China. Let us know what country you're coming in from. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just give you like 5 minutes just so different folks can join us.
Mhm. Yeah, because it takes some time for the live to like notify people.
Mhm.
Okay. I wish we had some music in the background that we
I
could
know.
be.
I'm like, we need background music.
Uh-huh. Let me see. Let me
Okay, go
check my
ahead. Go ahead.
the copyright. I can't
I know
because
that's true. That's true. That's true.
we cannot. Oh my goodness. Thanks.
Okay, it says we have 3 people who've joined us so far. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I'm playing in my like literally the music is playing in my head and I'm like, okay. Okay. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. I've been checking for like some songs that, might
Yeah.
not be copyrighted, but
Hmm.
hey, yes.
Okay, we'll still give people like 2 more minutes and then we'll get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at how we're both moving like there's a song, like there's a song playing. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think exactly at 1:05 we can just go ahead and get ready.
Okay.
All right, someone
Hello.
says hello. Hello,
Yeah.
hello, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Yep.
I hope everyone's excited because we're excited. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to be an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone's asking, how are we? Esther, how are you?
Girl, I am doing great. I am perfectly splendid.
I am good as well. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking,
Yeah.
Izima. How are you? How's everything
Mhm.
going with you?
Yes, I do. I do remember you. I remember you from my channel. It's been a while, actually. And thank you for joining us. Okay, so it is 1:05 p.m. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. Um, Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to be here. As you can see us, we've been popping to some imaginary music. um, so why are we here today? You probably joined us from some ads that you've seen on either my YouTube channel or Facebook page or LinkedIn or Winnie's page as well. So we're here to share strategies to study in the US today. We hope that it will be more of a conversation. You can ask us any questions that you may have. So today is just an opportunity for you to ask us questions
Mhm.
about studying in the US, interviewing for a visa, securing funding and scholarships, and any related questions or any questions related to study in the US as well. So, yeah. Oh, I'm getting distracted by the chat, so I'm going to try and focus while I'm talking, but we'll get to the chat shortly. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat and we'll get into it as we go. So, yeah.
Yes, welcome everyone. And we also wanted to add that no question is off limit. Like if you have
Mhm.
any question about studying in US, whether it's for your bachelor's, master's, PhD, or you just want to come for work, like let us know. So no question is off limit. Put them all in the chat box and we'll take a look at it a little bit later. Esther, you want to go ahead, or do I go ahead with introductions? How do we go?
Okay, yeah. So, you know what? I started talking, so let me just go ahead and introduce myself. I'm going to be like, you go ahead, but I'm like, it's fine. So, hello everyone. My name is Esther Shijuade. I go on YouTube. If you already hear from my YouTube channel, I go by Shiju's Chronicles. You can call me Esther, you can call me Shiju, whatever you want to. That's totally fine. So I am from Nigeria, born and bred in Nigeria. Then I moved to the US a few years ago for my graduate degree, which I did at Kent State University in Ohio. And currently, I'm working at the Ohio State University, also in Ohio. It's like I just love Ohio. I
You
can't.
love Ohio.
I know,
Love
right?
it.
I can't seem to leave. So yeah, over to you, Winnie.
So, hello everyone. My name is Winnie Bush, or Winnie Adiachi Bush. That's my full name. So,
Okay.
similar to Esther, I'm originally from Nigeria as well. I'm from Akwa Ibom State, Uyo. So a little bit about my journey, I guess. I moved here for Esther moved here for grad school. I moved here for undergrad. So I have a master's. Sorry, I have a bachelor's from Jackson State University, which is in Jackson, Mississippi. And then I have a master's, like Esther, from Kent State University. And then I currently work at Kent State University as a program coordinator. So, yeah, so that's just a little bit about me and where I am now.
Okay, all righty. Nice to meet you, Winnie, even though I've known you forever.
Nice to meet you too, girl. Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so I think we're just going to share a little bit about our journey,
Mhm.
about why we're here today, what influenced this particular Q&A session, and just a little bit about us, how we decided to study in the US and why we're even doing this right now, just to kind of share information out to you all. So, like, I'm going to let Winnie start since I started the last time. You go ahead.
Girl, I think you should have started because now, like, my story is so long. So let's see. So like most Nigerians, after like so primary school, secondary school. So my last year of secondary school, I took WAEC, I took NECO, and then I even took like post UME. So I was
Okay.
accepted to a university. Girl, I know. I was
Mm-hmm.
accepted to University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria. That's where I was supposed to go to. And my aunt, who at that time she was a president of a community college, which is a 2 year college for those that don't know. Typically, you earn like an associate's degree at 2 year colleges. So she was a president of a community college in Michigan. So she was like, "Well, I think you should come to my college and come do
Mm-hmm.
your 2 years." I was
Oh,
like,
that's good.
"This is my chance to go to America. Like, be cool, please sign me up." So my aunt literally signed me up. So that's how I came. So like I said before, I started off at a 2 year community college in Michigan. It was called
Mm-hmm.
Wayne County Community College. So at Michigan, I think like every Nigerian, I was trying to get my life together. So I was making sure that my grades were on top, on top, on top throughout. So at so after I earned my Associates of Arts degree, the next thing was to kind of transfer to a different college to complete it. So
Yeah.
I transferred over to Jackson State University, and then there I studied. Let me tell you guys, first of all, I changed my major like 5 times. I was like, oh, I want to do theater arts. I started off with theater art, and then I was like, oh, what else? I wanted to do English. I don't know, like I can't speak English already. I said I wanted to do English. I changed to
Um,
English. I then said social work. I changed to social work, but I ended up with mass communication because my
mhm.
dad's really into media. So it was something I grew up with. It was something I loved. It was something I was passionate about. So finally, or your sister now graduated with a bachelor's in mass communication.
Yeah.
So at Jackson, after I finished Jackson State, now similar senior year, I was like, okay, what's next? Like, I knew I wasn't ready to start working because I always
Mhm.
wanted a master's degree. It was something I always wanted for myself. So I was like, well, I need to start applying, but I didn't know what to apply for.
Yeah.
So when I was at Jackson State, I was working a lot. So I was working in the international office as well. And then my mentor at that time was just she was getting her doctoral degree in higher education. And she was like, you like college students, you like working in a university. I think you should do this for your master's. I was like, okay, sign me up again. So that journey now took me over to Kent State University.
Mhm.
So at Kent State is where I earned my master's in higher education administration. So after Kent State, I was just like, okay, what's next? Now I know I was done with school. I was like, this years have stressed me out. I need a reliever. I need something else. So from
Mhm.
that, I now decided to go to work. So and now started applying to jobs. And I think a little bit towards the end, we'll talk a little bit about job searching. But I started applying to jobs, and I got a job in California. I moved over there, and then after a while, California wasn't doing it, so I got
Okay.
now. I know California wasn't. I was just like, I need to be back. So I now moved back to Kent, and I now have I work at Kent State University, which is where Esther and I did our masters. But yeah, so that's a little bit about my story. Esther, over to you.
Okay. Where do I start? Okay. I'm a Niger girl, born and raised there, grew up there. I did my primary, secondary school there. I did my undergrad there as well at Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife, Obawa University. That's what they say. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and then I studied English education in
Mhm.
undergrad, and I think for me, my study abroad journey kind of started. Well, I started like sometime in undergrad, I was like, okay, I definitely want to get a master's. And I was like, but I don't really want to do it here because if you know my institution back then, like there was a lot of strikes
Mhm.
and I just did not enjoy that. I was just like, nah, I'm not doing this again. I'm not going
Yeah.
through this again. Like I need some consistency in my life. I
Mhm.
want some certainty as well because what's the point of going to a school and then you don't know when you're going to graduate?
Exactly,
Um,
yo. Mhm.
so that was one thing I did not want, and that was how it kind of started for me. It started like during my NYC year, so like this National Youth Service that we do in Nigeria for a year after you graduate. So kind of started there. That was when I started my school search, and I had some criteria for my school search process. I was like, okay, I speak English. I studied English in undergrad. I do not. I'm not writing TOEFL or IELTS. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
doing any English proficiency test.
Mhm.
I
That's so.
said I want to minimize the amount I spend on school applications. So I'm looking at schools that allow me to upload my transcript and do not really require a transcript evaluation. So that was another criteria for me. And then number three, I did not want to write GRE. I was
Mhm.
lazy. I wasn't I was lazy. I was not lazy. I just wasn't interested in writing the exam. And luckily I was ready to do this, to put in the effort to look for schools that would give me the opportunity to kind of explore my criteria, and I found schools and I applied to quite a lot of schools actually, now that I think about it.
Oh
And I
wow.
got admitted and I ended up picking Kent State University, first of all because the the security through the
Mhm.
funding that Kent State afforded me, but also Winnie kind of sold the school to me.
Not so. How did I do that, Esther?
No, when I reached out to you and you're like, okay, this is blah 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 international education. I'm like, this is what I really want. Kent has everything I want. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, this is where I'm going. And yeah, I graduated from Kent State with my master's sometime last year, and I decided to just apply for jobs, and I'm currently working at the Ohio State. Yeah, and just like Winnie, I just knew that I wanted a break from education. At first, I thought I was going to go for a PhD next up, but then I was
Mhm.
like, I think I need a break. I need some work experience. I
Yeah.
need a break from reading. So yeah, and here we are right now
Mhm.
doing this Q&A session. So
Maybe I think we should. Sorry, Esther, go ahead.
oh yeah, no.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I think we should talk a little bit about why we're hosting it, and I think
Mhm.
we've kind of answered it in each of our introduction. But I
Yeah.
think for us, one of the reasons is to kind of put the information out there. I know when I was living in Nigeria, I did not know much about studying not even studying. I didn't even know how to study, but I also didn't even know how that there were ways that you could study for free. Like Esther talked about how she was looking at, not taking the GRE. Like those are things I thought was required. I thought to come to US you had to take SAT, ACT, GRE, and all of those things scared me. So I think like that's the first step. We just want to make sure that this information is out there for all of you guys. It is possible. It's not something that's, I think a lot of times it might look like it's impossible. It's very possible. You have both of us now, both of us, people who've gone through this journey. And I think the first reason why is just to put that information out there. Esther, add.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just really important to put the information out there,
Mhm,
to share with people. Like at first too, I thought some things were impossible. I thought I had to
mhm,
write exams.
mhm,
However, as I started my search, I was like, okay, this is actually possible. I don't have to spend too much money applying to schools. First of all, there are schools that can provide funding,
mhm,
scholarships. It could be partial, it could be full, just to kind of support me in my education. So like I think just put the information out there. I think that's literally why
The
we are doing
biggest.
this.
Yeah,
Yes, and
yeah,
to all
yeah.
people who want to come study, and
Mhm,
just to acknowledge some people in the chat as we
mhm.
go. Like we've seen some comments, and you're welcome here. And then I know like Anthony mentioned that he was an applicant to Kent State University. Yes,
Yay, Kent State.
yeah, and then we have somebody here to the G committee. Thank you for joining us. And we have Elijah and somebody we don't know, Facebook user.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
everyone's
Facebook, it doesn't say. Yeah.
yeah.
You're in love with Kent. We're in love with Kent too. Yes.
hmm Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with some questions that we've received. So when we put the information out there on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube that we're going to be doing this live session, we had a couple of questions come in. So we're going to start with that as well. And as we go on, if you have any questions that we've not touched on or anything that you're like, okay, I would like answers to this, feel free to put that in the chat. We hope this is going to be like it's going to be a really interactive session
Hmm.
where we can just provide answers as much as we can. So yeah.
Yes, yes, to that. I think also before we get started, we also wanted to include a disclaimer as well
Mhm.
that we are not admission officers.
Yeah.
We are not affiliated with any of the universities or even any of the scholarships that we'll be talking about. Our goal is just to provide information and help you kind of, get the information and then do your own research as well. But we're not affiliated with any of these universities, so don't, so we can't speak directly about them. We don't have any scholarship to offer, but we can give you the information. Our goal is to give you all the information that we have so that you can actually put in the work to get to come to the US. So
Yeah.
yeah, Esther, should we go with the first question? So the first question we have is, what materials do you need to apply?
Okay. So okay, Winnie, I'm going to say start with the undergraduate one, and I'll do the graduate one.
Sounds good. So for undergrad, I feel like I always forget. So for undergraduate, some of the materials you need, the first one is typically like you need to take some sort of exam. So it could be like SAT or ACT, or even TOEFL is another exam. So TOEFL is a test of English language or English as a foreign language.
Yeah.
So that's when a lot of times if you're a native speaker of English, so like Nigeria's official language is English. So a lot of times that might be waived for you, but there are also some universities that don't waive it. So those are just some exams that you might need to take. Some other materials you'll need, I think you also need like I feel like for undergraduate. But you also need like your transcripts as well. So if you're graduating high school, the secondary school, you will need a transcripts from the institution, from the secondary school that you're graduating
Mhm.
um, to attend. What other thing do you need as well?
Um, some
Um,
some might
oh,
require you to write a personal statement,
statement.
and
Yep,
some would
yep.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, personal statement. You also need, sometimes they also ask for a letter, like a reference letter, a letter of
Yeah.
reference from, previous, like your faculty member or even from a principal, just people who can speak towards to you, to who you are, to the work that you've done. So yeah, so those are some of the materials. I don't know if I'm missing anything.
Yeah.
We talked about transcripts, we talked about the exams,
Yeah. Your passport,
your
too.
passport.
And
Mm-hmm.
some would require you to upload your passport at the time of application, and
Mm-hmm.
some may not.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So, and some things is that like with the application material, it overlaps with the masters as well, with
yeah.
the graduate degree as well. So I'm going to be talking about some of it right here.
Mm-hmm.
So for graduate students, some materials that you would need in order to apply would be a personal statement or statement of purpose, which is like a statement, personal statement. You write it to kind of demonstrate your interest in the program, why you're interested in that particular program, what that institution, what do you hope to achieve with the degree, your career goals. Every institution or every program has different requirements. On like, okay, what to include in a personal statement or statement of purpose. Some will specify it, some might not. And then we also have like a resume,
Mhm.
um, or curriculum vitae. But typically in the US, a lot of schools request for resume, and your resume is just like this, just like a CV. Generally, you put in your achievements, so like leadership or work achievements. You highlight it chronologically. And I think one thing I would like to really point out is the fact that here, compared to like the way the CV can be in some other countries, you do not want to put any personal identifying data on your
Mhm.
resume.
Mhm.
You don't need to put your age, you don't need to put your place of birth, no, nothing like
Mhm.
that. Just really put your work achievements, your educational achievements is also like, if you had a particular GPA in school, you can include that, where you studied and things like that. And then also some might require research statement or writing sample. That's another thing that could be required, depending on your program. And then we also have GRE or GMAT. So GRE is graduate record examination. Some schools require you to write the graduate record examinations in order to get admitted, and some it may differ by program, some don't, but that could be another requirement. And another is the English proficiency test, which could be TOEFL, IELTS, and a lot of schools are accepting like Duolingo results
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Um, or if your official language is English, some schools would waive the English proficiency test for you, or if you're a native speaker of English. So it really depends.
Mhm.
So every institution is different. And
Mhm.
also we have transcript. It could be official, unofficial, or some will require transcript evaluation. So those are like the three ways you can upload your transcript. Every institution is different. You can see a trend like
Mhm.
I keep saying every institution is different because that's the reality. Also, letter of recommendation as well. So it could be from like a professor, it could be from someone you work with, it could be from a counselor, depending on your program. Some will tell you they don't really care. It could even be like a personal
Mhm.
recommendation from somebody who knows you. So letter of recommendation or references, and then also like passports, like I mentioned earlier, application fee.
Mhm.
Although some schools waive application fees, some don't. So some things to keep an eye out on, and some have free application as well. And also, another thing I was just saying to take note of, application deadline. I know we have some
Yeah.
material, but I kind of consider application deadline as part of
Mhm.
that. Some have rolling deadlines, so like there's really no deadline, and then you know some have specific deadline in order to get funding. So some things to just keep an eye out on if you're applying as a graduate student. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think
Also,
is
yeah,
am I
I wanted to
answering
also
your question?
add, I
Yeah.
think for graduate students, some it depends on your program. Sometimes they might even ask you for a portfolio. So I know like I have a friend who's applying for photography. So they're asking him to put together like some pictures he's taken before. So it
Mm-hmm.
depends. Or even there are programs that will ask you to, especially if you're doing like a PhD, they'll ask you for some like things you've written in the past, like
Yeah.
research you've done. So just keep in mind that if you've done research or if you've done anything research wise, like they
Yeah.
might ask you to show them a portfolio or even a website. So it really depends on, and I think we keep saying that, but it depends on your program, it depends on your university. Like the requirements are not like straight across the board. Every university is different, every department is also different as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep. So, do we want to move on to the next question here, or answer some questions in the chat as
I
we go?
think I think let's answer some questions in the chat. So
Yeah.
let's see this one. So this person says, me and my friend applied to master's program in geography at Kent State University, and we were both rejected for the admission. My friend has a first class in his BSc of 4.86 and master's degree. Oh,
Mm.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't I sorry, Esther, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, like, we can't really speak to that. But one
Hmm.
thing to note is that, like, every program has different requirements, right? So, a lot of times, if you do meet the requirements, you would get admitted, right? But
Yeah.
also, the programs might be really competitive. And, sometimes even applicants who are really strong
Mm-hmm.
do not get in. But also, I think it also depends on the strength of the application. So, like your personal statements,
Mm-hmm.
what did you write?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you submit? Were some details missing when you submitted the application?
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, like, applied for a master's program, and then your friend already has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, so applying for another master's degree. So, like, did they explain why they wanted a second master's degree? So just some things to take note of. Then I
Yeah.
can't really speak to that because I don't have the application materials. I don't know what they submitted. But I think just some things to take note of. And also, you can always reach out to the institution to request, like, okay, about to inquire about why you were rejected. Actually, a lot of schools offer feedback,
Yeah.
and they'll let you know that, okay, these are some of the things that they looked at. So it could be maybe something in your personal statement or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can always reach out and ask
Yeah. Yeah.
why.
Yeah, because I was also going to say, I think a lot of universities now we are starting because after the impact of COVID, they're starting to
Mhm.
receive a lot of like applicants as well. So
Yep.
they can't accept everyone who applies. So that might also be a reasoning as well. So this next question says, "Hi, I am glad to join this session. Thank you for all that you do. I have applied to a school in New York. They asked me to provide else. Is it possible for me to provide it and still get funding?"
Hmm. Do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of similar where we can't really speak to a specific university, but I think I don't think, providing your ELT or not providing it prevents you from getting funding. I know typically when a university when they ask for certain materials, so if ELT is one of the things that they ask for, like send it to them. So they want a complete you want to they want to make sure that your package is complete before they review it. So some universities are like that. So I think if they're asking for it, then send it to them. But I think also if funding is something that's important to you, it's good to see, like if you go to a university's like funding page, they'll tell you like they'll give you step by step what the things you need to do are. So they'll tell you exactly what documents you need to submit. So just follow whatever instructions they have on their page. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
All right. So okay. And then this person asks, please what specifically or special thing do Kent State University look out for? Questions. I'm like, that's I think I feel like, sorry, Esther, go ahead. I think you had something to say.
Oh yeah, I was going to be like, see, every program is different, right? So I can only even speak to like the program I applied for. Uh, However, if you submit what is required, like the
Mm-hmm.
application requirements, and you do due diligence, I think for the most part you get admitted at Kent State University. I think Kent State is an institution that they look at the holistic, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they look at everything in terms of like your application materials, like whatever you submit. And every program is different. So I can't be like, oh, because some programs require GRE, some do. Some might look at your GRE scores, some might look at like your references, your recommenders, like what did they submit, right? So some things I like to say is that when you ask somebody to be a reference for you,
Mm-hmm.
you tell them like, can you be a positive reference for me?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want somebody, because I can't state you don't see what your recommenders write for you. You
Mm-hmm.
you submit their email and the institution sends it directly to whoever would be
Reference.
your exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So some things to just keep an eye out on, because sometimes we've seen cases, actually, even though we're not admission officers,
Mm-hmm.
we've actually like reviewed some application in certain capacities before, maybe interviewing for like a G or something, and then sometimes um people, someone you think would probably be a positive reference for you,
Mm-hmm.
write something else that is
Yeah.
not positive. So always
Mm-hmm.
ask people, can you be a positive reference for me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think that could be something else. um yeah, and I can't really speak to a specific program. However, just some things I'm thinking of that could be in terms of like rejection. It could be the competitiveness of the program,
Mm-hmm.
the quality of your application materials.
Yeah.
Even when you're writing your personal statements, are there like red flags? Are there things maybe sometimes you're like, oh, I said, because I've seen that before. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
writing a different program than what is actually on your transcript. So you studied like biology in school, and then you're writing that you studied maybe something else.
Mm-hmm.
a different course. Like, no, don't do that. Like, ensure consistency, ensure that you are honest in your statement.
Yeah.
Avoid avoid lying just to get what you want. Be honest,
Mhm.
like, I think just some things to just put out there. And also another thing would be requirements. So like your program, do they require you to like double space, all these
Mhm.
formatting requirements that they
Yeah.
have?
Yeah.
What font do they ask you to write your personal statement in, if any?
Mhm.
Some may have, some don't. Some will tell you
Yeah.
double space, some will tell you single space, some little things to keep an eye out on. And that way schools kind of use it to kind of just weed out applicants, because they have a lot of applicants and they'll be like, okay, why did this person not follow our formatting requirements? And then they just, put it aside. So
Yeah.
just some general possibilities
Mhm.
um, out there. Okay, I think there's more questions, right?
Um, I think this one you already addressed. It talks about like viewing the reference.
Yeah,
This one
choosing the
says
right. Yeah,
my references showed me the recommendation letter and it was positive. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
I think that's more of a
um,
statement than a
yeah.
question.
I
I
think
think
just
let's, sorry,
you
go
know,
ahead.
I was going to be like, just reach out to Kent State if that's like, and just inquire about why
Mhm.
um you've not gotten admission, and maybe also try some other institutions as well, or have
Yeah.
somebody review your application material if that's something that you've not done before. If you've not shared your materials with somebody, something
Mhm.
might be missing. It could be like your resume or something not aligning with your like personal statement. So I think something to just consider there.
Yeah. And then someone says, I don't think it's a question, but it says I applied to a school in California. They waived application fee, GRE, and ELT, but yet no admission. I'm really confused because I did everything, even had my transcripts, original certificate sent. Yeah,
Have you Question to you, Miracle? Have you reached out to the school to inquire about your admission status?
yeah. And I think that's something that people shouldn't be afraid to do.
Mhm.
Is like they're here to help. A lot of universities, I know, like for example, Kent State University, they not only have like they have undergraduate admissions, they have
Yep.
graduate admissions. They also have people in each department as well that works on admission. For example, even at OGE, I know like Sarah is the person who's in charge of Africa, so they have people who also work with the specific continents or countries. So don't be afraid to reach out to those people. Like that even shows that you're really interested or you're passionate about coming to that specific university. So just feel free to reach out to them. As I think we should keep going on questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all. So just keep putting your questions in the chat and then we'll take a look. But let's keep going. Um, so I guess another question we were asked was are there any universities that pay for your SAT exam? I personally don't know of any university that pays for it. Esther, I don't know if you know of any. No?
I
Yeah,
do not know of
yeah.
any university that pays for SAT. However, there are individuals, organizations out there. Education USA is one that, if you are like, I know recently they have this opportunity funds program that they I think I'm not sure about the deadline. I know I put it on my community tab in my YouTube channel, and if you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, you'd have seen that there. They have like opportunity funds program where they assist students, prospective students, undergrads and graduate students,
Mhm.
to kind of like, I don't know, with the cost of application. So you apply, and if you get in, they will assist you with the cost, with the application fee. So like paying your
That's
application
awesome.
fees,
Yeah.
cost for exams and things like that. So
Mhm.
that's something to probably take note of. And there's some individuals I've seen before on LinkedIn, someone be like, I'm going to pay for 10 students to write SAT or
Yeah.
GRE. And so you never can tell. But there are no universities, to the best of my knowledge.
To me too, to my knowledge too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say a lot of times when universities say they're fully funded, it typically is like your tuition. I know only one university that said they'll pay flight though. I don't even know. Like I was just like, pay my flight, but typically they pay your tuition. For undergraduate, they'll pay like your room and board, your meal plan. But I don't know of, like I don't know of any university that pays like your visa fee or like SAT exam. So I don't know of any of those. And then Esther, you want to do the next question? It says, when's the admission timeline? Maybe we could do like undergrad and bachelor's, which I think is kind of similar, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of similar. Every school is different with admission timeline. Some
Mm-hmm.
have rolling admissions. I think I mentioned this earlier. Some have a strict deadline of like December 1 if you're applying for scholarships. Some have February 15, and programs are different as well. And I know even for undergrad, some have like early decisions,
Exactly.
regular decisions. So
Mm-hmm.
check the institution that you want to apply to. Check out their websites
Yeah.
to take note of their admission deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and then the next question, I think it's pretty long. It's how to apply for scholarships and how did we secure funding for bachelor's and master's? Esther, should I talk about how I secured funding for bachelor's and then you talk about master's? Because I feel like our process was the same for master's.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Okay, so for bachelor's, like I said, I started off at a 2-year community college. So when I was at that 2-year community college, I joined this honor society that's called Phi Theta Kappa. So Phi Theta Kappa is just an honor society, basically for people who have 3.5 GPAs and up. So if you have anything 3.5 and above, some universities offer full funding for you to kind of transfer over to their university. So after I finished my time at WC3, Wayne County Community College, which was a community college, so I made sure that my GPA, I was like, no matter how tough life is, that GPA had to be at least a 3.5. So I think I graduated with a 3.8 from WC3. And then I now started applying to just different universities that had Phi Theta Kappa at their university. So a lot of universities have it. I remember I applied to like Penn State. I did a lot of university in California. I did some in Texas. But Jackson State University, I think Jackson State University, Alcorn State University, University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, those were the three that offered me full funding. I think there were more. There were at least 7 that offered me full funding. But I decided to go with Jackson State. So at Jackson State, because I did that Phi Theta Kappa program, I got full funding. So what that full funding meant was they paid all my tuition, they paid all my fees, and they also gave me $1,000 for textbooks. So that was how I basically secured. So I did, and then with that, so after I transferred over to Jackson State, I had to make sure that I think you had to maintain a 3.0 GPA, and then they would renew it every year. So you could have it up to 3 years, but I only needed it for 2 years since that was what I stayed there for. But yeah, so that was how I got my funding for my bachelor's. And then Esther will talk about the master's because it's both of us, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, so for my master's degree, in terms of getting funding, so I applied to a couple of institutions. I applied to Kent State University, Central Michigan University.
Me
I,
too.
yeah, okay. I lost my train of thought now.
Sorry.
I think I applied to Illinois State University.
Mhm.
I applied to Arkansas Tech University. I applied to
Do you do
Rowan.
UConn? I thought you did UConn, no?
I did not complete my UCAN application. I
Okay.
was lazy. I was tired of applying. I applied to one of the I applied to Rowan University. Their application was free then, so that was why I applied. And then one other university or two other universities that I'm missing right now. And
Mhm.
after I applied, so the way it was, some of the programs I had to apply separately for
Mhm.
funding, while some automatically considered me for funding with my application. However, we can't say specifically. I had to do an admissions interview first, and after I did the admissions interview, and then I got after the admissions interview, I got offered like assistantship.
Admission. Mhm.
Yeah,
I think they call
interview.
it conditional admission. Yeah.
Yeah, conditional because you are not guaranteed the admission until you have an assistantship. So with my program, not it's not like that for other programs. Just my program alone, I can't say. You need to have an assistantship in order to be admitted into the program, fully admitted. So I had a conditional admission. And then I started interviewing for assistantships. And this was virtual. And back then it was in person. So I had like limited positions
Yeah.
basically they were willing to interview me virtually. Now everything has changed. Everybody is doing it virtually.
Hmm.
But when I applied, that was how it was. And then I applied. I said applied. I interviewed, and luckily one of those positions came through for me. And I was like, yay.
Yes, girl.
Yes. And at another institution that I applied to, there I had to apply separately, write a
Mhm.
cover letter for like each assistantship position. And to put it out there, the assistantship positions I was applying to were administrative assistantship positions. So they
Mhm.
were not research or teaching positions. These are administrative assistantships. So something to take note of there. At many institutions, I don't want to say all because some institutions do offer that opportunity. At many institutions, there are three types of assistantship. You have teaching assistantships, you have research assistantships, and then you have administrative assistantships, which differs by programs and institution. So some things to take note of. But yeah, that's how I secured funding, basically by interviewing. And I know some of my friends that actually literally they had admission, they applied to the school, they checked the box, do you want to be considered for assistantships? During the application process, they checked that box, yes, and they were offered an assistantship, literally with admission based on the competitiveness of their application package.
Yeah.
So some things to just consider right there.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I feel like mine was the same, but I did not apply to that many universities. I only did two.
Mm.
So for my master's, I applied to Kent State University and I also applied to Central Michigan University.
Yeah.
So I went to both of their GA days because I was already in the US. I was in Mississippi at that time, so I had to fly. So I flew from, I think Central Michigan's GA days was first. So I flew first to theirs. I did my interview with like five different offices, so administrative as well. And then I now went to Kent State and did my interview. So when I got to Kent State, like I found that I was matched with their residence life team. So I was just like, well, sign me up, y'all. If it's full funding, I have a place to live. There was a meal plan included. So that was the offer that I took. So yeah, I answer. Let's see.
Okay. So next question. Let's see. Are there any community colleges giving some good scholarships before you start? Winnie,
Hmm.
this is a question for you.
And I'm like, it's a good question. I think I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know any community colleges that give scholarship for international student. I know the one that was a lot of my friends went to community colleges in Mississippi. I know that theirs gave them funding, but most of them that I know are U.S. citizens. I think I do have a video on my channel, Winning with Winnie, that I listed some community colleges. I think the thing with community colleges, I think, is like a lot of them are very affordable. They're not expensive, so most of them they don't offer like full funding or anything like that. But they're affordable, so that's some things to check into. But I don't really know of any that give like a full funding for
Yeah.
international students.
Yeah, me neither. Because they're already pretty affordable. I mean,
Yeah.
many of them, some have like tuition of as low as $3,000
Yep.
per
Mm-hmm.
semester, and some might even have like partial. I know, like I've seen partial scholarships for community colleges before. However,
Yeah.
I have not seen full funding
Yeah.
for community colleges before. However, it might be out there. You never can check.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Because I know like my friends that all because I know one of my friends like she got full funding, but she's a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, so it's
So,
different.
yeah, it's different. And then the next question we have is someone asks, how can I get a sports scholarship without a coach being here to see my skills? That's a good question. um, I think a lot of times it's also maybe just reaching out. I guess that from everything we've been talking about, like don't be afraid to reach out to these
Yep.
people. So if you're interested in basketball, volleyball, football, whatever it is, like don't be afraid to reach out to the coach, or to reach out to whoever is in charge of the program to just say, "Hello, my name is this. I'm from this place, and I would love to try out." So you never know, like they might, because I know like for a lot of the university, even like when I was at Jackson State, a lot of their players, a lot of their athletes were international students. So I don't think reaching out is a bad idea. You never know, like they might be interested to come there. But I think also like the world is now being it's more, I think, technologically advanced as
Yeah.
well. I don't know, there might be a way they could set up like a Zoom or something.
Mhm.
Or they might connect with the coach at your current school to,
Yeah.
to talk to them about your skills and your abilities. So
Yeah.
I would say just reach out, like whatever school you're interested in, and whatever sport it is, like feel free to reach out to those people and just tell them, this is something I'm passionate about. This is something I would love to do at your university, and I would love an opportunity. Like America, the American dream. So you sometimes you have to ask the questions. You have to like ask the questions, but I think it's also about promoting yourself and
Yeah.
advertising yourself and putting yourself and your skills out there as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree because I've seen a couple of Nigerians actually with sports scholarships,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to like track and field events. Like maybe
Hmm.
this is it like Favor Ophelia, one of this Nigerian girl that literally really runs at one in university in is it
Wow.
Louisiana or Texas? I can't remember. Don't let me
Yeah.
say give out the wrong information. But like what Winnie said, yeah, there are opportunities out there, so do not be afraid to reach out.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, everyone, I just wanted to say, like, please feel free to keep putting your questions in the comments, and we'll take questions as they come in.
Hmm.
We want this to be interactive. It's a Q&A, so we want you to ask us questions. We want to try to give you the best answer that we can. So please don't hesitate. No question is a bad question. There are no dumb questions either. Like, put it all. You need the information, and we're here to kind of give it to you as well. So please don't hesitate. Esther, you want to do the next question? What's the next question?
Sure. What do you have to say about Michigan Tech and their scholarships? Okay. So, Michigan Technological University is a university in Autumn, Michigan. I know that because I did a video on that recently. And what do I have to say about Michigan Tech? Actually, I actually interviewed with Michigan Tech for a job, a full-time position, and I ended up, dropping out of the process because I was like, I don't want to go that far. But with Michigan Tech, I know they do have a lot of scholarship opportunities. And one good thing to know about this institution is that the application is free. So they have free application for both undergraduate and graduate international students. And in terms of their scholarships, they have like a lot of partial scholarships for international undergraduate students. I've not when I did my research, I did not really like see like any fully funded up to the extent of like or maybe a full tuition room and board and things like that. As that when I checked the video, when I did my video. However, for graduate students, they do have like assistantship opportunities that can provide you with full funding opportunities like your tuition as well as stipend. And I know that I listed some programs that offer that opportunity, but I don't know that they have a lot of scholarships for international students that can help offset um, the cost of your studies and also like funding opportunities for graduate students in terms of like assistantships and fellowships as well. So some things to take note of. And also one thing I would say is that when you're looking for scholarships, also like and you're unsure of something, reach out to the admissions officer. Like they have that information on your page. Reach out to them and be like, "Hi, I was wondering if there are any fully funded." You never can tell. Maybe you check their website and you did not really notice anything explicitly stated on their website. It might exist. You never can tell because there's some schools that actually have like this scholarship resource page literally that can be so difficult to find. And if
Yeah.
you reach out and ask, they will provide you with such opportunities. And there are some scholarships that are dependent on the department. So your program would actually provide the scholarship because maybe they have an endowment somewhere or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think one thing to take away, if you take anything away from this session, is like do not be afraid to ask questions. Reach
Yeah.
out, ask questions.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Our next question is, what about visa, accommodation, and upkeep formalities? So I would start with the first one. So about visa. I know visa process. I feel like I think a lot of times people stress about admissions. I don't even feel like that's where the stress is. I think the stress for me, and I think for a lot of other people, is typically with funding and the visa process.
Yeah.
So now I feel like the visa process has changed. So Esther, please help a sister when I'm lost because the visa process I think changes a lot. But for me, so typically after you get your I-20 from the university that you're going into, once you've been admitted to the university, you provide them a bunch of documents that they request, and then they give you what is called an I-20. So
Yeah.
that I-20 shows that you've been fully admitted to the university, and then with that I-20 is one of the documents that you have to take to your visa interview. So with the visa interview, there's a lot of other paperwork you have to complete. Esther, what am I missing? There's the DSI 60. You need to
So they
take with you. Sorry?
That's a DS-160.
Yeah, DS 160. I feel like there are other forms. There's a lot of other forms. So just make sure that you have all your documentation. You will also need to pay a visa fee as well. You will need to take like a bank statement or like something to prove that you have enough money at
Yeah.
least for 1 full year. Um, but there's also a bunch of other documents that I feel like I'm forgetting right now. But with that, so once you take all of that document over to the U.S. embassy in your country, wherever you're doing your interview at, then they ask you some questions to kind of dictate. And then some of the questions, I think some of the things that you have to kind of prove. The first one is that you have enough money to cover yourself in the US. They don't want you to just come here and be dependent on the government or be dependent on, university. You also have to prove that you're going to be going, that you plan to, or you intend to go back to your country once you finish your education. So those are some of the things that you have to prove. And then depending on how that, how the interview goes, then they can say, yes, you've been approved, and then they take your passport, and then you go back to pick your passport up in a couple of days. Or sometimes you might get denied. So I think a lot of times people get denied, and it's because they couldn't prove that they have enough finances, or they couldn't prove that they intend to come back to their country. The visa process for me, I think, is a lot. It's the most stressful portion of everything. Um, as
See?
to why you laughing now, is it not true?
Because I don't think so though.
You
Like
don't think so?
I
Please,
don't
I want to
think
hear this.
so.
So
See,
share,
admission
share.
process too can be stressful enough with all the applications, all the
Mm-hmm.
reaching out, the waiting game, the personal statement that you have to write. And the visa process is, like it comes after you've gotten the admission. And I think it's
Yeah,
easy to prepare for if you know why you're coming here. Like
true.
if
Yeah.
you genuinely know why you're coming here, then it should not be a hassle. So in order to get the visa, of course, you already mentioned like the I-20.
Mm-hmm.
You get your I-20. After you get your I-20, you have to fill out the DS-160
Mm-hmm.
form. And while you're filling that form out, ensure that you're providing the right and correct information. Okay,
Yeah.
read through. Do not
The
submit
rush.
that form exactly in a haste. No, do not do that.
Yeah.
Um, Also, why ensure that, because like they take a look at that form. I, at least to the best of my knowledge, I think they take a look at that form while you're when you get there, and you're so
Yeah.
some questions they might ask, and then what you're saying does not align.
Man.
It doesn't match up.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Mm-hmm.
some things to keep at the back of your mind. Know what you filled out in that DS-160 if
Yeah.
you are applying for like an F1 student visa. And
Mm-hmm.
also you have to pay your service fee. So
Yeah.
the service fee that you have to pay, you can't, if you're in like some West African countries, you can't pay it directly. You have to probably pay through Western Union or ask somebody in the US
Yeah.
to pay for you. And also you also pay the visa fee, so the visa appointment fee. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of Nigerian, I think it's I paid mine at GT Bank in
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
So, and with that fee, you're able to book an appointment at the embassy. So just
Mm-hmm.
some things to take note of there. And whenever you're going for the interview, ensure that you take all those forms. So all the receipts, the service fee, the visa fee, your appointment letter, all that form, make sure you take that with you. And I know I did a video, my visa application, an interview where I provided a detailed information on everything I did in order to apply for a visa, and also my interview as well. So you can check it out on my channel if you're interested, because I don't think I want to be repeating all the story. Yes, it's literally going to take an entire time. Like it's a long story, but some things to just take note of. And also, like while you're preparing for your interview, like there are a lot of resources out there that could help you.
Yeah.
Go online, search, to help you prep for that interview. If you need to talk to somebody and pretend and be like, okay, why do you want to go to the US? And then you're like, okay, I want to go to the US because blah blah blah.
Like a
Like
job interview.
exactly. Like look for somebody to, if you're talking to the wall or the mirror, if that's your style. My style, I laugh. I literally, when I look at the mirror, I laugh at myself. So it does not work for me. I can't practice alone. Like I need somebody to actually talk to,
Yeah.
or have a script, that you
Mm-hmm.
look at. And I'm not saying cram it, okay? Don't do like cram that part, because that's when it starts to come off as like being ingenuine, if that's the word.
Yeah.
Because I was looking for the opposite of genuine, and then I was like, it's not coming to me. So just some things to like take note of, like rehearse those questions. There are some frequently asked questions that if you go there, there's a 90% chance that this is a question that you get asked.
Yeah.
Questions like, why are you going to the US to study? Why this course? How will you be funding your education and things like that? Those are some questions. And do you intend to come back to your country? Which your answer should be yes, because it's an F1 visa interview. It's a non-immigrant.
Visa. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a non-immigrant visa. It's not an immigrant visa. So the expectation is that you should be coming back to your country. So just
Yeah.
some general things to take note of there. And I think, what else am I missing? I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it when it comes to like preparing for like a visa interview.
Yeah.
And you definitely want to take with you like evidence of funding. So who
Mm-hmm.
is funding you? Is it your parents? Is it your uncle, your siblings, or the institution that
Yeah.
you're attending? You want to take evidence of funding with you. You also
Mm-hmm.
want to have a scholarship letter, an assistantship letter, ensure that you have all those with you, or a bank statement. Ensure that you take that with you to the embassy.
Yeah.
And yeah, just be confident in yourself. Do not doubt yourself. You got that admission. You know why you're coming here to study. Just go, with the flow. Be relaxed. I know I'm saying be relaxed now, but I know your heart to be beaten. Literally, yes, because it happened to me. I was literally in front of the. My heart was like pounding. I was like, ugh.
Um,
I
I
mean,
think I think also it's good to I'm not say like tune people out, but kind of tune people out because I remember when I was getting my when I went for my first time my interview, like there's three people in front of me, they denied all of them, and like
relax,
because I
girl.
did my interview in Abuja, like in Abuja, Nigeria, everybody's in the room, like you can tell, so they denied three people in front of me, so that got me scared. So like Esther said, be confident in yourself and don't let other people's struggle stress you out, like still be confident and be articulate, like also don't rush when you're speaking, because I think a lot of times we get super stressed and we're trying to go fast so that it can be over, but you want to make sure that the consular officer interviewing you understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
So just be confident in yourself, be confident in your ability, and know that you've been accepted to this university, you have all your documentation, and you'll be good. Don't
Mm-hmm.
don't focus on what other people are doing or what they're not doing.
Exactly.
I know sometimes I was trying to see, oh, what question are they asking them, so me I can prepare about for it, but don't stress because you go up there and they will even ask you the same question. So don't over stress about the process.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some new comments in the chat. Michael said Facebook was lonely, decided to come here.
Well, hello, thanks for joining us, Michael. Hello.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think Michael asks us a question. So he says, please, with specifics to higher education in Kent, was exactly oh, I'm guessing the question is what exactly are they
Yeah.
looking for? I plan to apply. Okay.
Okay. See, I'm not the interview. I'm not like the admissions counselor. I'm not like the graduate coordinator, or anything like that. And I feel like I kind of answered this question a bit earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't say what they're looking for. I mean, they admitted me to the program, so I guess I was
You were what they were looking for,
exactly
girl.
that was what they
You
were looking
were.
for. But I think overall, just ensure that you communicate the reason why you want to study the program in your personal statement. Ensure that you check your formatting, your punctuations, like the coherence of your statement. Why do you really want to study that program? Um, your career interests, your career and profession, your career goals. Take a look at it. Look at the courses in the program. Take a look at like the curriculum.
Mhm.
Identify some courses that maybe you like really identify with, and then I think overall. Oh, sorry, I'm distracted. There's literally some buses passing by in front of my apartment. So I'm
Oh
like,
gosh.
I know, with like police officers in
Oh my
Austin.
gosh.
So I'm like, what's happening? Okay, back
Mhm.
to Kent State. Um, but yeah, I think overall, just the quality of your admission application is what they're looking for. As long as you're able to communicate that, and then the interview is also another important part
Yeah.
of the process. So you have to do an admissions interview in order to get admitted into the higher education program at Kent State University. So ensuring that you familiarize yourself with the curriculum, why Kent State, why the program, some of the things that you did while in undergrad, your experiences, and what makes you a good fit for the program as well. So just some
Mhm.
general things to take note of right
Yeah.
there. But yeah, am I missing anything, Winnie?
No, I think that's it. I've spoken to Michael before, but yeah, I think that's it. I think it's just being able to articulate why Kent State is a good fit for you, and why you're a good fit for Kent State University as well. And I think like one key point Esther mentioned is talking about like your career goals. So like, what do you plan to do after the master's program?
Yep.
Like I don't know. For me, I feel like Esther might disagree, but I really think that admissions is not the struggle. It's typically the funding part. It's typically the visa. But I think it's good. It's great to have a strong application material. But also, I think this is a time, since you say you're planning to apply for next year, I think this is also the time to reach out to those references, to the people you want to serve as a reference for you, and asking them, like, are you able and willing to serve as a positive reference for me? I also think of writing your letter, also like making sure that when you finish writing it, because sometimes me, I write things and it makes great sense to me, but I send it to people and they don't understand what I'm saying. So this is a good time for you to kind of take this time to write your personal statement and send that to a friend, send that to a mentor, send that to a previous English teacher, whoever that you're close with, just someone to help review it for you as well, just to talk to you, because I think Esther also did a video about her admissions letter, so that might her admissions statement. So that might also be something to kind of take a look into as well, to see like how did she start it. Like they always say, you need a strong beginning, a good middle, a good closing.
Yeah.
So reaching out to people and trying to build those relationships, I think, is also important as well.
hmm And I agree with that because I feel like one mistake I made when I started out my application process was not reaching out. I
Mm-hmm.
literally was this sole person trying to figure every single thing out myself because I was like, okay, um, I don't know. I was just really hesitant to reach out, not
Mm-hmm.
because I was afraid. I guess deep down, I was afraid that people would say no and not respond to me. Literally,
Yeah.
it took me forever to reach out to Winnie, and that was literally when I was about to interview. That was when I reached out to you, even though I already knew you
Yeah.
somehow some from this Facebook,
Facebook group. Mm-hmm.
and I was like, nah, I'm not reaching out. And then I was just one day I just said, I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? There's somebody literally in the program. The worst they can say is
Yeah.
no. What
Yeah.
if they say yes? Why are you so afraid to reach out? And then I
Mm-hmm.
reached out and look at, here we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I always tell people like never say no to yourself. Like let people tell you no. I know a lot of us we're afraid of being rejected, afraid of people not answering you, but man, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for a lot of people. So like you need to try your best. You need to give it your 110. So it's about stepping out of your comfort zone to like ask those questions. And there's so many resources. We have CJ's Chronicle, we have Winning with Winnie, but there are also a lot of other YouTubers as well. There's Google. You also have the university admission people. You have their international offices. So there is so many resources for you. You
mhm,
just need to be willing to put in the work to do your research, and to ask questions as well. So yeah.
yeah. Oh, and we have a love from catching up with Allah. Hello, girl. That's my
Hello,
friend.
hello. Okay, heart eyes. We love it.
And we have a question. Okay. Who wants to read this
Oh, you want?
question?
Okay, I can read it and then you answer. Okay, so it says the question. Oh, Dotun. Oh, Dotun. It says, does the evidence of funding have to be in my account? I heard of situations with friends who have applied for visas, but got denied because the funding wasn't in their account or in a relative's account. That's a good question. Esther, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay. So this is tricky, okay? First of all, it depends on who you stated as your sponsor in your
Hmm.
DS 160 form.
Yep.
Okay. Who is your sponsor? I would say the evidence of funding should be in your sponsor's account. So if you're using a bank statement, did you list yourself as a sponsor? Then that evidence should be in your account. First of all, ask yourself, can I be a sponsor? Am I
Yeah.
able to sponsor myself? And if you are, then you should be able to provide that funding, right? And if it's in your parents' account, then it should be there. If it's in your uncle's account, it should be there. Like the name should correspond. So you should not be like, oh, I'll be sponsored by this person while you're filling out the form, and then you put a name, and then the statement of account that you're providing at the embassy is a different name or a different account. Okay, so that's why I mentioned earlier, whatever you're filling out in that form, ensure that it tallies. whenever you're responding um, at the embassy to any questions, or you're providing a statement of account.
Mhm.
So I think that's what I would say. Because yeah, if you if you're saying yes, Michael is sponsoring. Sorry, Michael, your name was the first thing that came to my my head. Michael is sponsoring me. Michael is my dad, and then Dotun is you're providing Dotun's bank
Statement.
statement.
Mhm.
It's not matching up. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's the simple response I would give to that question. I hope
Mhm.
that answers the question. Or if you need any more clarity, feel free to comment again.
Yeah. I think Esther, I think we should speak a little bit into this though, because I think a lot of times I've had people reach out to me and
Mhm.
say, "Oh, I don't have the money, oh, but I want to come to the US by any means necessary."
Mm.
And like I don't have the money, I couldn't get any scholarship from any university, but I want to come, and then I'll find a job. And then that job will now pay my tuition and help me live. So I feel like this question, I think, thanks Dotun for this question, but I think it also it leads us into a deeper conversation about, because I always tell people, like when people reach out to me like that, I'm just like, that is not the way to look at it, because I know people who come here and they do that, and then it's like it's stress. The American dream, they can't live it because they are extremely stressed trying to make sure that they're able to pay tuition, they're able to feed themselves. Because the thing with the US is a lot of times when you can't pay your tuition for, let's say, a semester, like they put a hold on your account.
Yep.
And once they put a hold on your account, you can't do much. You can't get your transcripts. A lot of times you can't even register for class for the next semester. So I always tell people, like, there's so many, so many funding opportunities that exist. Like, don't put yourself in a tough situation where you're like, oh, I don't have the money, I'm still coming. Try to get a scholarship, try to get that funding. Campus jobs in America, I don't even know if any country their campus jobs pays that well, but this they don't pay that well. They don't pay enough for you to cover your whole tuition. And then taxes is also very high as well in the US. So that's something you have to think about. So even if they pay you $12, you end up getting like $5. So taxes is really high. So I would just encourage you guys to not like don't put all your eggs in a basket like that. Like try to get as much funding as you can get from
Mhm.
different universities, from different organizations, just so you don't come here and be in a bind. I'll
Yeah.
also add that there are people who've done that and they have been successful, but I think it also takes a little bit from their journey because they're not able to um, kind of partake in extracurricular activities. Like they're always so stressed about funding that it takes a toll on them mentally, psychologically. They can't sleep because you're stressed about it.
Mhm.
So just I don't know. I just feel like that's just it's a I've gotten it from a lot of people, and I'm just like, bro, you're gonna come here and be stressed. I don't know, Esther, if you've gotten the same questions or what
I
you'd say.
have, and I'm just like to your comments about that. Yes, yes, yes. Because first of all, you don't want to come here and be out of status,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't want to come here and be stressed out. You
Yeah.
don't want to come here and be like, oh my goodness, am I going to be deported?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you come here with that mindset and you're unable to figure things out, you're going to be out of status. Of course, you might get reinstated. You never can tell. You might be lucky, but at the same time, you don't want to put yourself in such a situation. What's the point of coming here to be stressed out? I came here, my tuition was covered. I got a stipend to like assist with my upkeep and everything. And that was and I was still stressed out with classes. Let me put that out there, okay? But I was not stressed out with other things, right? I knew that to an extent I was secured. I was good, and I was not bothered with that. All I had to do was worry about my classes. How I would get a job, maybe after graduation or things like that. But if you come here and then you don't have a means of paying your tuition or even like providing for yourself, like we call it upkeep sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be so stressed out and you would not really like it. So yeah, I agree with you. Just ensure that you whenever you come here, and if you come in here, you're secure to an extent. Of course, there's so many resources out here to help you, like we have like food pantries. A lot of schools have food pantries. They have like clothes closets. where you can get clothes for free sometimes. You could get technology as well. Some school libraries, they lend students laptops and things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, because I would also add, I think a lot of universities provide these resources, but international students are not expected to be using those resources
Mhm.
because to them, basically, when you submit your bank statements, after that I-20, you take the bank statement over to their government office. That proves, so to them, you have money enough for 1 year at least. So a lot of the resources are not meant for international students; they're for the other students. So, yeah, I don't know. Just try to get funding secure so you don't come here and be stressed and be out of status, like Esther said.
Yeah.
So Olamide says you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank
Thanks,
you, thank you.
Olamide.
And
Bye.
then I think she asks us another question. So she said, so does that mean that if one gets full funding, you still need a statement of accounts? Esther, you wanna respond?
I think it really depends. So, for me, full funding differs by institution. Okay,
Yeah.
when we say full funding, some institutions like the stipend they give you will be so huge that it will cover that deficit.
Yeah.
Okay, while some it's not that much. So let me give an example. Your tuition is covered in full. Your health insurance is covered in full. Then they're giving you a stipend of $20,000. Let's just assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say the proof of funding that the school is requiring you is like $34,000 in an academic year. And when you calculate all that, maybe tuition sums up to like 20,000, your stipend 20,000. That's already like 40,000, health insurance and all those other things.
Yeah.
That's already like, let's say, $45,000.
Mm-hmm.
That already covers the $34,000 that the school is asking you to show proof of. And in such a situation, it's not necessary, okay? The statement of accounts is not necessary. If you have, you can take, and if you don't, that's fine. My funding was such a way that because my housing was covered, I got a stipend. Health insurance was not fully covered, um, but it was covered to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? I think we had a meal plan as well. I also had a
Yeah.
meal plan as well, which they calculated all that in terms of like the dollar amount.
Yeah.
So I had surplus. I did not have deficits.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go to like the embassy with a statement of account because I had more than enough. Emphasis on more than enough
Mm-hmm.
to cover my tuition. However, if your full funding is such a way that maybe because some schools provide little stipend, the stipend might just be like $8,000 in an academic year,
Yeah.
tuition let's say $14,000, and they're expecting you to provide proof of funding of $30,000, then you will still need a statement of account. So it depends on the institution and what they are offering because full funding differs from institution.
Yeah.
I mean, it differs by institution. So I hope that clears it up, and I hope I did not confuse you.
No, I think that made sense.
Yeah.
So another question we have is it possible to apply with my WIAC result only? I think it just goes back to what we said before. It depends on the university. For me, when I was applying to Wayne County Community College, which was the community college I started with,
Mhm.
that's what I applied with. I only applied with my WIAC. I didn't do TOEFL or I didn't do SAT, ACT, none of them. But every I think that's what you will learn from our conversation. Every university, every college is different. They have
Mhm.
different requirements. So just making sure that whatever school you're trying to apply to, like look on their website. They literally say it on there. So look on their website to see exactly what documentation they want.
Yeah.
But because I think like in a lot of American schools, some of them might not even know what WIAC is. So that might not be something that they accept for some of them. But so yeah, every school is different.
Yeah, I agree with that. Some schools you can apply with, even like NECO for Nigerian
Mm-hmm.
results, and they'll put it there like for Nigerians you can apply with this result. I think Northern Arizona University they ask you're able to apply with like your WIAC results. You have to provide them with a scratch card, and then you upload your unofficial transcripts, and you get admitted. But some schools would ask you to submit SAT. But a lot of schools right now, I said the world is changing and it's
I
been
know.
very
Yeah.
easier. They're becoming test optional.
Yeah.
So you can literally just get admitted with your transcripts, like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, as to the next question we have, someone says, can one fund tuition with student loan?
Mm,
Hmm.
it's up to you.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really is. I think that's a personal decision. But yeah, because I think the issue with loans, though, I think if you're getting it from your country, then yes. But a lot of times, if you're trying to get a loan from America or from American like industries, American banks, you have to prove to them. You need to have like a co-signer that's American.
Yep.
So that might be something to take into consideration. But I think if you're trying to do it from your country, like it really is up to you.
Yeah, it is up to you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
No. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to be like, and also, if you're going to get a loan, it's tricky, right? Like, what will be the collateral for the loan as well? And
Exactly.
when you're going to the embassy, if you're applying as an F1 student,
Mhm.
it, it's a bit tricky when it comes to loans. You have to ensure when you're defending that, like, how are you going to defend the payments, like the repayments, unless there's, you have somebody who is boxed up, like a guardian who is boxed up and things like that, that can just be like, yeah, this person will be repaying this and so, but like that's already a weak home tie right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was also going to say, like, don't forget to subscribe to our channels.
Yeah.
Esther's is Sijus Chronicle, and mine is Winning with Winnie. We share a lot of this information. Our goal is to help you come to the United States for whether you're a bachelor's, your master's, your PhD. So subscribe to our channels and make sure you stay tuned. All right, the next question we have is, what is always the deadline or the date they release admission and acceptance letters for fall?
Mm.
Oh, I feel like we've mentioned it before, but similar. It's every school's different.
Yep.
Every university is different. They have different requirements for admissions. They have different days that they release acceptance, and a lot of them, like Esther said before, it's rolling. So they're always that they might be admitting someone, like you might know a friend who's applied and they've already accepted them as well. So it really depends on the institution that you're applying to.
Yes. But one thing I also would like to put out there is that if you know that you're seeking funding,
Mhm.
a lot of schools have earlier deadlines
Yeah,
for funding. So you might want to really take a look at the website. Some will have a December deadline, some would be January, some would be February, depending on if you're applying for undergrad, graduates, degrees. Some for undergrad, their deadline will probably be like even November 15th for like early admits.
yeah, yeah,
And for graduate students, you can see like December 1, January 15,
mm,
thereabout. I mean, some schools they extend it to like February 15 or even March 1. However, it's limited and it will
yeah.
probably be for like their partial scholarships, not the fully funded ones.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for scholarships or funding, your best bet is to start searching early and start applying early.
Exactly. Okay, Ebuka Obi just says hello. Hi, 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 hi. A question from Ige Noir. So he says, can someone, or they say, I'm sorry, I don't know how you identify, but they say, can someone with a 4.2 out of a 5 scale GPA in undergrad get full funding?
Okay. Is
Hmm.
it like, are you applying for graduate school or not? See, I will just put it out there. Your GPA is not the sole determinant of funding, okay?
Hmm.
This is a really strong GPA to start out with. I had nothing close to that. I mean, I was in the 3 points, basically, and I still got full
Girl,
funding.
were you in a 5 point GPA
Yeah,
though?
I was in a
Oh,
5 point.
okay.
Yeah, so like I had a 2-1, so I graduated with a 2-1, but it wasn't
Hmm.
like a 4.221. Um,
Yeah.
So it is possible, however, it depends on your total package, the institution you apply to. Some institutions are very competitive,
Yeah.
where literally it's people like, 4.5 out of a 5,
Mm,
like that. So I think some things to take note of. It is possible for you to get full funding, but it depends on your admission packets, like your personal statement. Is the school asking for a writing sample or a research statement or a portfolio? Your transcript. So like relevant courses to the program you're applying to.
yeah.
Some schools take a look at that. Your letters of recommendation, your work experience to a certain extent, or research experience, or things like
Mm,
that. I'm not sure what program you're applying to, so I can't really be
stick to
specific.
it. Yeah.
However, it is possible for you to get full funding. I've seen people even with like a 3.4 out of a 5.0, 3.2 out of 5.0 get full funding. However, they really put in a lot of effort. They also streamline the institution they apply to. So, depending on the competitiveness of the institution, I just like to be realistic, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes maybe you apply to Ivy League schools, you might not be able to get in if you're in the lower GPA scale.
Mm.
So something just to take note of, right? So you could apply to like maybe like a school that is still kind of like, it's not maybe like a medium tier, or I'm not sure
Yeah.
about the ranking. Every ranking is different. So
Mm-hmm.
something to just like, when you're doing your search, you could have like, yes, these are top schools, these are like some medium rank schools, these are like um you know some lower tier schools, and
Yeah.
just shoot your shot and see what
Exactly.
happens. But it is definitely possible for you with such a strong GPA to
Mm-hmm.
get full funding. Okay, 4.2, very strong. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
She said, "Shoot your shots." I love it. I love All right. Our next question is what should prospective graduate students expect
yes.
during
Hmm.
their visa interview?
Okay. Questions. So many questions.
I know
Okay.
so many questions. I feel
Why
like
do
a
you
lot of
want to
them are
start?
repetitive too because we already talked about it.
Yeah.
But maybe
Uh,
Esther start and then I'll fill in the gaps because
okay.
you interviewed during your graduate
Mhm.
program.
I mean, you did too, but okay, that was for like a renewal.
Yeah, that was a renew, and they didn't even interview me for real.
Okay. So my questions were my interview very short, very simple. I didn't. It wasn't like, I was like, oh, so you're going to blah blah blah, and then I was like, yeah, I'm going to Kent State University to study this
Mhm,
degree. And then they more or less asked like, what did I study in undergrad, which I said English education. And then what was the third question? I know I already did a video on that on my channel. Um, and then my they asked like, what have I been doing since I graduated?
mhm,
Which I said, which I responded and at first, and then they asked me again like, what have I been doing? So when they asked what have I been doing since I graduated, I was like, oh yeah, I started with this whole story of, yes, I stayed home for like because my school they delayed us a lot. So I was like, yeah, I thought while waiting for NYC and blah blah blah. I said
mhm.
that whole story. And then they asked me, what have you been doing since you graduated? And the next time I just went straight to the point. I was like, yeah, I've been teaching at the school since then. That was literally what I said, and it was just
Yeah.
like, so that was for me. However, when you go online and you read people's transcripts, there are a lot of questions. Some will ask you, what did you do in undergrad? Why are you going to the US? Why the US out of all other countries that
Exactly.
exist,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Why that particular program? What would
Mhm.
that program do for you?
Yeah.
What's your career goal? Like they literally drew you
Yeah.
depending on the interviewer, depending on like what you submitted on your DS 160. Some will ask you what your program is about. Some will
Yeah.
ask you what research you'll be working on, if your course is a research course. Some will
Mhm.
ask you who um your PI, like principal investigator, or who your supervisor would be.
Mhm.
Some will ask you like, what will you be doing? Like, what's the curriculum of the course?
Yeah.
So many
I
questions.
haven't started yet now.
See, so
I
many
think
questions.
I was also someone had told me they asked them how many other schools did they apply to? Why did they
Mhm.
pick this school out of all the
Yes.
other schools? So yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Next question.
This one isn't a question, more of a comment. The person says, "You guys are making a whole lot of difference in people's lives. Keep up the great work. God bless." Thank you so much. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
so sweet.
Okay, this person can be a hype personal. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
hype us up. Hype us up. um. Okay, so this person says, if someone takes on law or criminology at a college, do I still need to go to the major university? I don't think I understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if they're asking like, do they still like maybe they're asking they did it so maybe they did law or criminology at like undergrad, so for their bachelor's, do
Mhm.
they still need to do it in for a master's? I don't think so. Do you mind actually rephrasing your question, please? Because I think we're a little
Yeah.
confused. Please rephrase your question and then we'll try to answer it. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. I think oh
Oh, okay. I think this is the same person because they asked like how many years does it take to complete law in USA for undergraduate, so for their bachelor's.
See, the process here is different for law
Mm-hmm.
degrees here. So you typically will go to undergrad and study like a normal
Mm-hmm.
4 year degree or 3 year degree course, depending on like how many credits you're transferring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you could do like English, you could do like geology, you could do like geography. Literally, you could study any course in the,
Yeah.
but as long as you're taking like those pre-law, like
Mm-hmm.
the prerequisites basically, and then I know like they do LSAT as well. Many
Yep.
of the law schools require you to probably do LSAT if you want to get in. I mean, there are a few that maybe don't really nowadays if you're trying to get like a master's in law or something, and
Mm-hmm.
then they now go to law school.
Yeah.
So it's kind of different. So it's not like Nigeria where you go and then you study law in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's kind of different here in the US. So like
Yeah.
they do any 4 year degree course and then they move on to law school. Do you
Yeah.
have anything to add to that, Wayne?
No, I was just gonna say the same because I know. I mean, even here at Kent, I knew like Rafia. I don't know if you remember Rafia, but
Yeah,
she wanted to do law, but she was doing like communication. So you could do anything. Like people do any degree and then just transfer, like then go to law school after.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some people even like they take a year off, they go to like clerk for a justice, a clerk for a judge, or just work for a bit before
Mm-hmm.
they go. So the process is different from Nigeria since that's where we're able. I think those are the only questions I see so far. But y'all keep your questions coming.
Yep.
Looks like there's 16 people joining us, so keep your questions coming. Let us know any questions you
Thanks
want
for
us to answer for
joining.
you. Thank you all so much for joining.
Yeah.
Actually, let's go back to some of our other questions.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we've already answered the F1 visa one. So let's go to this one.
Mhm.
So it says, what was the general experience moving to the US? Um, Adjusting to, oh, so yeah. So what was just your general experience moving to the United States?
Uh, go. I've actually done a video on culture shock with my friend,
Mm-hmm.
um, for my channel, but nonetheless, I think it was a mix of emotions, right? You're coming to a new country, you're you're meeting new people, it's a new culture, currency is different,
Everything is
everything,
different.
food, everything is different. Like my to do my hair, like it's not even easy. I had to cut my hair for a bit there because I was like, it's not easy to find somebody to help me make my hair because of the
Mhm,
location that I was in. So like just so many, I think for me it's just I don't even know how to explain
mhm.
how it is.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone has like different ways of adjusting. But I think for me, one of the biggest shocks I had here was first of all taxes,
Mhm,
the tipping culture
mhm.
here, the fact that it wasn't easy for me to get around without a car in my location. Every
Mhm,
location is different, right? But I was in Kent and it was kind of difficult. Although there was a bus system, however, it was still kind of difficult to get around without a car.
Yeah.
Um, Also, like just the even in class as well, I think the freedom for me, the fact that literally, you could wear anything, go to class,
Mhm.
like you can wear pajamas and go to class and nobody will question you. Um,
Exactly.
and then also the interactiveness as well. Just my program was really interactive. You expected to come to class, do readings, interact with your classmates, do a
Mhm,
lot of presentations, and also like just the I think another thing, food as well. I really miss Nigerian food when I was here. Yes, there was an African market I could get food from, but it was
They're
not
so
the
expensive.
I know, but I mean, now I'm used to it. It's not expensive to me
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But like back then, I literally would change every single thing from dollars to naira. I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm spending what 30,000 naira on buying two yams. Like, what the heck? Why would I do that? So,
Mhm.
but now I'm kind of used to it because I've adjusted. So
Yeah.
I think for me it was just that adjustment period, that shock in general of like, okay, this is a new country, this is how things are done. I go to the store, literally, I walk around, I pay things myself. People trust me
Mhm.
to to pay for what I'm picking from Walmart and not walking out with it. Like so, it was
Yeah.
just like different adjustment period. But if you want to learn more about my experience, you can definitely check out my YouTube channel. I have an old video which I did with my friend on culture shock. So yeah.
I was gonna say for me, I think pretty similar to Esther. There were just different challenges I think I had to navigate. The first one was language, and I know I speak good English, but I first came once I landed in Michigan. People could not, like my classmates, my professors, they couldn't
Mhm.
understand me, and I'm like, I'm literally speaking English, like.
Mhm.
So I didn't know what to tell them, but I think language barrier, or more like I don't even know, is there accent barrier?
Accent, so
Because
probably the
accent,
accent. Yeah.
because I think that was the issue, like people couldn't understand my accent. And I low-key feel like they weren't trying enough because I could understand everything they were saying, but the way they were speaking was different to me. But I listened more. I was more intentional about making sure that I was listening to understand instead of listening to talk. And I
Mhm.
think people just didn't give me the same benefits. I think language or accent barrier was one thing. I think the weather too was very different for
Oh,
me.
yes,
When
girl.
when I first landed in Michigan, I saw snow for the first time in my life, and I was just like, what is this? I told my auntie, come on, there's snow. I said, no, no, I told her there's salt. I was like, there's salt on the ground.
Girl, bush girl.
So it was no Bush girl. I mean, my last name is Bush, so I was just
Okay.
representing. I was representing fully. Um, but yeah, like adjusting to, and you know that like in they have like three seasons. They have winter, they have spring, they have summer. Like it was just
Um,
difficult to adjust, and even I had to get a whole new closet and whole new wardrobe. Like I had to buy like winter stuff. I had to get winter boots and earmuffs and what is it called, gloves, like all these different things. You dress for the season, whereas in Nigeria you dress, and the way you dress is the way you dress, like all around. So I think that was also difficult. I think also building relationships was tough.
mhm.
um when I started like Wayne County Community College. I started when I was 16, and everyone there was like older. So I think the closest person to my age was probably like 19 in my classes. A lot, like I was taking classes with people who were 50 something or 40 something.
Yeah.
um so it was just different. Like a lot of people, I think there's also the fact that they would act like, what do you know? And then I think it even got to one point where like people will now start saying, "Oh, can we be in groups together?" So they now started listening to me more because I was doing well in classes. The faculty members, like the
Yeah.
professors, were like, "Oh yes, Winnie." They were always calling on me. So people now started. But I think there's also building relationships with faculty member was also tough. I think even building relationship with classmates as well.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times, because you're international people, because you have an accent, people don't I, I don't know, they don't trust you. They don't feel like you know enough. They don't feel like you're as qualified as them. So there's also just trying to navigate those relationships as well.
Mhm.
And also like classrooms are different. Like I came here straight from secondary school in Nigeria. My secondary school, my teachers teach, you take notes, you go home, you come back, you take the exam. That's it. But here, like especially it was very interactive. It was very, very heavily discussion based. The teachers were like your friends. They'll sit down with you and chill, like. So it was just a very different. I had to kind of figure things out differently, I would say. Also finding a job too, like when I was at Wayne County Community College, I was working at the bookstore at that time. So after my first year, I took up a job at the bookstore, and just navigating that was also different. And even finding a job first step is stress. And then now starting to work and trying to fit that all of that in. And also,
Mhm.
I think it's also thinking of how to make sure that you're also keeping relationships with people back home. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of different challenges like that. But the general experience, I think, for me has been positive. I know some people talk about, experiencing racism, experiencing sexism, and all of these things. Those are not my personal experience, but it doesn't mean that it hasn't happened to others. But yeah, Essence, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I think I fully resonate with like most of the things you said. And although like, I personally too have not experienced like blatant racism, however, there have been like microaggressions,
Mm-hmm.
that I've experienced in some ways, even if it's in the classroom, like that aspect of people just, I guess maybe sometimes because of maybe where you're from or your accent, like they just
Yeah.
assume maybe you don't really know what you're doing at first.
Mm-hmm.
until later on, and then they're like, oh, she knows what she's doing, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and also I think the idea of friendship here is a bit different than it
Mm-hmm.
is
Say
like
that again.
back home. So it took a bit of adjusting to, and how I could not just literally knock on anybody's door or just be like, hey, what's up? Want to hang out? Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think it just took some adjusting to. However, my experiences here have been positive as well, overwhelmingly positive, I must add, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we have a question from Peter. So, Peter, he says, if you're given a full scholarship, is there still a need for one to apply for a student job as an undergraduate? Hmm.
I would
I
say
mean,
go.
sorry. Oh, I would say so. I got a full scholarship. So at Jackson State, I was on a full ride, and like I said, they paid tuition, room and
Mhm.
board, and they also gave me $1,000 for books. I still got an undergraduate job because for me, I think it helps you build experience. So like I worked at the international office for them for 20 hours a week, and with that, I was helping them. Like sometimes they'll even like depending on what language you speak, you could help them with like translation from your language or even transcripts equivalency. But with the undergraduate office in my undergrad, I was helping them do like different events. So we were putting on like fashion shows. We just did different conversations to help international students integrate into life in America. So like even conversations like me and Esther are hosting right now, we would kind of have these kind of sessions to help them as well. I was also helping them with like their social media platform. So yes, so I wouldn't say there's a need to apply for a student job in undergraduate, but I think it helps you get that experience. It helps you get work experience to build. And I think when you are thinking of applying to like a full-time job or thinking of applying to graduate school, like they're able to see like this is somebody that can balance multiple things at the same time. But I
Mhm.
also wanted to mention that before I turn it over to Esther, it's good to make sure that that is not detrimental to your study. At the end of the day, go, you are there to get a degree. You're there to get that bachelor's degree with the highest GPA you can probably get, and making sure that you're also building relationships with people. So as long as you're doing that, if you feel like you're doing that and then you're able to take on a job, yes, do it. But if you have a fully funded scholarship and you're like, no, I just want to concentrate on my study, then do that. But I think it does help for people to see that work experience on your resume. Esther?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Winnie just said. I would say yes. My response to that question is yes. I think a lot of most undergraduate students that I know, even students that I supervise,
Mm-hmm.
they they have jobs, right? I mean, I supervise them because they are working, so they owe jobs to even assist that little stipend, right?
Yeah.
That you get, and you're able to just buy some things for yourself, get some
Mm-hmm.
snacks, some food, because it's rare to as an undergraduate to get the full scholarship that will give you monthly stipend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might need a job to supplement that full scholarship if you get it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you should apply for the job, if not for the money, but for the experience.
Exactly. Exactly. For sure. Okay. Peter also asks us another question. He says, is it compulsory to learn foreign languages as an international relations student? Hmm.
See, this is relative to the international relations cost.
Yeah.
However, I think to get admitted, you don't need to have that. Every
Mm-hmm.
program is different though. So while you're taking that course, it might be a requirement. I know for undergrad, because like one of my staff member kind of studied internet is studying like international relations. I don't know if it's the title of the course, but it has something international in it. Um, and they are taking a foreign language. They're taking a Spanish course. I know they're taking like Spanish and Arabic course to
Mm-hmm.
supplement that, because if you're in the international relations field, there's an expectations that you have to deal with something related to diplomacy,
Yeah.
international diplomacy and things like that. And having that foreign language knowledge would be beneficial. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I don't know if it's a requirement for you to get admitted. I don't think so. If you're looking for like an undergraduate degree or even a graduate
Mm-hmm.
degree, however, you might do it as part of your coursework. It might be one of your requirements.
Yeah. And I think even when I did, because I did my undergraduate here,
Mhm.
they required you to take some sort of, but I mean, it was different. So they require you to take like a foreign language, but I got it waived. So like because I did French all through high school, so
Yeah.
I submitted that transcript, so they waived it. So even like I'm not speaking specifically to international relations, but I think just in general. A lot of the undergraduate programs here expect you to take some sort of foreign language as well as part of your curriculum.
Okay. See, you're
Mhm.
learning something new.
There is something new every day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. More questions. Yeah, I don't see any more questions.
Yep. But we still have more questions to
Yeah.
answer here.
Sorry, maybe you go ahead with the next question.
Oh, how did you both secure full-time jobs after your studies? Interview,
Mm.
interview, interview. Oh my gosh.
Oh
So
God.
many applications. Okay. How did we? So I think as an international student, it's kind of like a bit tricky, right?
Mhm.
It can be stressful. You do have, if you're in a non-STEM degree, you have like OPT for a year, and if you're in a STEM course or program, you have like 3 years OPT. So I think that's one way you can work while after you've graduated here in the US through OPT. And I know that for me, it was a bit different. However, when I was searching for jobs, I was mainly looking at institutions or companies that sponsor for H1B visa, which is the work visa. I think that was really important to me because I wanted a plan B. And that's why I said mine is also a bit different. So I think something to kind of keep an eye out on. So definitely looking at companies that sponsor in your field of study, okay? Because you're kind of restricted as an international student. If you
Sure.
study this course, whatever you do has to be related to that field of study.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not like the company must be like, if you study higher education, you have to work in a company. No, you have to work in a university. No, that's not what we're saying. However, your job description has to be related. You have to be able to connect it.
Yeah.
So you can't, let's say you can't do like, how do I put it now? You can't do accounting and then you say you want to become a teacher of
Hmm.
English. Like, nah, you can't do that.
I have to go back to school. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go back to school for that. So I think to
Mhm.
secure jobs, apply to a lot of schools. First of all, do that research, identify companies that are sponsoring for H1B visa, and then apply to those companies or institutions, and then interview with them first round, second round, third round, depending on how the company or the institution does it, and then
Mhm.
secure the offer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like if I start saying my
Your
journey,
story.
it's going to be so long. And I know this is
Yeah.
a Q&A.
Hmm.
I'll probably do a separate video on that in my channel to kind of explain
Yeah.
that. But I know the Winnie recently just did like a H1B
Hmm.
interview on how to secure jobs on a channel. So I think that's something you can definitely check out if you want an answer to this question. And also she has shared her H1B experience as well. So two separate videos on our channel that will be helpful to you if you're looking for a job in the US after graduating. And
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Esther said it because I think finding the immigration piece, finding a company that sponsors, a company that's willing to sponsor, it's really
Yeah.
tough. So yeah, so check out those videos as well. I think that would be helpful. Okay, we
Mhm.
have some questions here to take.
Oh,
Um, so this is a comment. So someone says, Rahul, he says your videos are very informative and helpful as well. Way to go. Um,
thank you.
and then this one says, can a master's degree holder use only his or her first degree during PhD application process in a STEM program?
It is possible, okay? It is possible. There are some schools that are for STEM, even non-STEM, but depends on the institution, depends on the program. Some admit you with just a bachelor's degree. However, when
Yeah.
you're admitted, you can earn a master's degree along the way in the
PhD.
process. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the PhD. There are so many schools like that. I know, like I did a video, like maybe fully funded PhD in economics, where And those schools don't require you to have a master's degree in order to get admitted. You can get admitted with just a bachelor's degree. Of course,
Yeah.
if you have a master's degree, of course, maybe it might improve your chance, it might not. You never can tell.
Mm.
Every institution is different. Some of those schools will explicitly state it. You do not need a master's degree in order to get admitted.
Yeah.
Apply with just your bachelor's degree. We only need a 3.0
Yeah.
GPA for you in order to get admitted, and maybe like the strength of your application as well.
Mm.
But yes, you can use just your first degree. If you have your master's degree, then definitely add it on. You can put it there. If you have not gotten it at the time, you can put,
Mhm.
May, like expected May
Yeah.
2022 or something. You can put it on there, but it's possible. So it depends on the institution or on the department or the program
Mm.
itself, because there's so many STEM programs. I don't know which one you're definitely
Yeah.
looking
I
for, but
know. Yeah, I was gonna mention like I think it also depends on the university as well, like as I said. I know like for Kent State for their physics program, because my friend did physics, he only needed his bachelor. So during as he's doing his PhD now, he's also earning a master's program as
Mhm.
well. So it really depends on the university and their program.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's a bit long. Okay, so another question from Peter. So he asks, who and what influenced you to apply to this university? How should I answer this question above in a way that will get me a chance to be considered? Hmm.
Mm. Do you want to answer this, Winnie?
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, this is a tough one. I think for
Mm.
personal statement, I think it's important that it tells a story. It tells your story. So I think you need to make it relative to you. So talk about someone who's inspired you. I think that's what they're trying to learn. I think for me, like if you were to ask me who and what influenced you, I'll think of the people who've influenced me the most. I think for me, most of the time, it's my parents. So it's either my mom, it's my dad. My parents used, especially my dad, like he would work. He'd come home at 12 a.m. and then 6 a.m. he's back out working. So I could talk about, how he's influenced my life. He's influenced me to be hardworking, to be resilient. So I think it needs to be your story. It should, you should convey your story, convey your passion. Um, yeah, I don't really know. Like I don't know. I don't feel like we should be answering the question for you. I think you need to be thinking.
Exactly.
You should be thinking about answering it for yourself. It should be your story in a
Mm.
way.
Yes. And
Hmm.
for me, it's really important, right? So you don't just be like, oh, my dad influenced me and I
Hmm.
decided to apply. That's
Yeah.
not how you answer that question.
Hmm.
You explain how.
How?
If
Yep.
it's your dad, how has that person
Mm-hmm.
influenced you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what influenced you? Like,
Yeah.
is it the
What? Yep.
program? Is it the
Hmm.
curriculum? Is it the institutional ranking? Is it the location?
Yeah.
For instance, this reminded me of like maybe a visa question that people that a lot of people answer, and they're like, okay, so why the US specifically, not
Exactly.
other countries? And I know,
Yeah.
like, even though I was not asked that question during my interview, for me,
Mm.
I prepared for it, and I was like, okay, this is why the US specifically. So not just like, oh,
Yeah.
but because the US was the only at the time,
Hmm.
the US was the only country that was offering my program of study. There was one school in the UK that was offering it. However, the program was not rigorous enough. And that was how I
Mm.
kind of explained it in preparation for that. So you
Yeah.
don't just state the what, you
Yeah.
state how they've influenced you. If it's
Exactly.
your sister, or maybe you're watching my YouTube channel, and you're like, okay, she just Chronicles influenced
Yeah.
me. But how? Don't just say she just
Mm.
Chronicles influenced me to apply and I decided to apply.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah.
How? What stood out? What does she just Chronicles say that
Hmm.
influenced that decision to apply? So I
Yeah.
think that's how I would advise you to answer that
Mm.
question. Explain, give details, and don't just state that yes, this person said I should apply, so
Mm.
I applied.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely going to how. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Our next question is from Michael. So Michael asks, he says he found some schools that still have their fall 2022 application for higher education,
Mm.
but despite tuition waiver, health insurance, and housing, their stipends for assistantship is really low, like 9K.
Uh, uh,
So,
uh. That
so
is
he
not.
now right. He now says 9K dollars for a year. Is it advisable to go for such schools and their ranking seems low?
Mm. So, you said I said 9K is not low because literally your housing is being covered. You have health insurance
Mm-hmm.
covered. You're not paying for any other thing again. No.
Yeah.
You're only getting like you're not paying for literally any other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some schools give people $15,000 stipend, and housing is not covered, health insurance is not covered,
Exactly.
and they say it's a livable wage. That's what I'll say. And for me, is the stipend, does it seem low? Yes, it seems low. However, housing is a huge expense.
Yeah.
Literally, to find an apartment here in the US, you're going to, if you're sharing it, maybe you pay like $500
Mm-hmm.
per month if you're sharing that apartment. And if you're alone, you pay like $1,000. You
Yeah.
still pay for water, you pay for light, you pay for water and sewage, or depending on the apartment. So that is not low if your housing is being covered, your health insurance is being covered. Health insurance alone is like
Expensive.
very expensive. Like the cheapest you will get is like at least $500, and that
Mm-hmm.
one does not really cover any premiums or anything like that. A
Yeah.
lot of schools require you to have like $2,000 in like
Mm-hmm.
health insurance, like 1,500 and above health insurance. So I think that's not low. If they're covering housing, health insurance, they're waiving your tuition. You're not paying for anything. Literally, you're just getting 9,000, keeping it in your pocket. You
Not
won't
9,000, maybe like 7 after
oh,
tax,
exactly. And
but still a lot. Yeah.
it's actually a lot. And you can, what the most you will spend in a month is $300. And I think with 9,000, maybe you'll be getting like $800 in a month, because I assume it to be paid over like 10 months or 9 months, because you get summer off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Yeah.
think that is low if they're covering
I
your
don't think that's
tuition,
low. And I think,
insurance, and housing.
yeah, yeah. I
So
think just echoing all of that, I think once you have a tuition waiver, you have health insurance, you have housing, like I don't think 9,000 is low. I think Kent State for their a lot of the higher ed programs, ours was typically like 7,000 if you were in housing. And
yeah,
then I know for some offices paid 8,000 for people, 9,000, 10 for people who are in non-housing. And even with that 10,000, they still have to pay for housing. So that doesn't really give them a lot to live on.
exactly.
So I think 9K with all of these things you've mentioned being covered, I think that's very doable. Because the only thing you'll have to think about now is just it's pre getting to the US. So you'll have to think about how do I pay like how do I pay for the visa fee? How do I pay for my flights? But I think once you get here, that's a livable wage. Oh, I think Michael says he's asking because I asked because
Oh,
I hope to come with my family and I don't
okay.
plan to provide proof of fund. Okay.
That
I
context
think
is helpful now. So
exactly.
it is not livable if you're coming with a family.
Yep.
If it's for you alone, yes, but with a family, I'm not sure how you would go
Yeah.
about that. But
I think it's I think it's also different because now you have to think about it on your I-20. I think going back to that I-20 conversation, on your I-20, you might have to show additional proof of funding since you're bringing somebody. You get what I mean?
mhm.
Because typically on your I-20, if your grad assistantship is, tuition waiver, housing, all of that, you might not have to show additional funding. But now because you're bringing other people, typically some universities have a set amount. They'll be like, add like 20,000 or add 5,000 based on each dependents you bring in. So that's another thing to consider as well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think you could also look at schools with higher stipends, though. There are schools that pay as high as $15,000, even with housing.
Yeah.
And
I
some
think
without
Central
housing.
Michigan, I mean, Esther,
It
maybe we
was
should mention some.
14,000 at Central Michigan.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Central Michigan. There are other
Mhm.
schools. Maybe I think reach out, like Michael, feel free to reach out to myself and Esther. We can
Yeah.
help you like figure out some schools that have higher stipend. I know Central
Mhm.
Michigan because girl, that's the one reason I applied.
And UConn too. UConn
Oh,
stipend.
UConn, yes,
Yeah.
UConn.
UConn. I think Vermont as well. So
Yeah,
many schools actually with higher
with
stipends
higher
with
stipend.
housing. But
Yeah.
if it's without housing, there are some schools that literally pay as high as $36,000
Yeah.
for like their graduate students. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, some schools have money. So
Exactly. So I think even University of Tennessee pays higher because I have a friend who I don't know what his process was though. I don't know if but I know his family just joined him here in the
yeah.
US. And he's at University of Tennessee. So I can always check in with him as well to see what their stipend package looks like and what his process. So Michael, feel free. I know you reached out to me on Facebook before, but feel free to reach out to myself and Esther and then we'll look for more resources to help you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's all the questions we have. Any more questions, people? Feel free.
yeah.
Um, okay, so
Okay.
this says UConn pays 24,000.
Um,
What?
Interesting. Probably for their non-housing programs.
Oh, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But the housing one, I know
Yeah.
it's like probably 14 or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's 14
Yeah.
for the housing one.
For the
So
housing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Esther, do you know how much Ohio State pays for their GA?
There you go. I work here and
You don't
I don't
remember?
know.
Yeah.
Literally, that was my
Because I feel
department.
like
Like,
I feel like Ohio State typically pay a little higher, so that might
I
be a
mean,
good
they have money though.
girl. Everyone has money. Oh
Ohio
God.
State has money, but I'm not sure. But I can find out
Yeah.
and like just kind of share that in my channel later on.
Mm. So
Yeah, I
Timmy,
think.
this is well done. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Can Winnie drop her channel? Okay, so my channel is called Winning with Winnie. I'll put it again in the chat. So Winning with Winnie. Okay, Esther, it doesn't look like we have any other questions in the.
I think we do have one last one.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
In our like, what advice do you have for those interested in moving to the U.S.?
Got it. Oh gosh, Esther, you start. It's a lot.
It's
There's so much advice.
I know, right? There's so much advice, and I actually think maybe we can we we skip the question on accommodation and upkeep. Um, like probably finding accommodation in the
Hmm.
U.S. I think
Oh,
that's
let's talk about that first then.
yeah.
Yes.
And then we end on the last
Mhm.
question because literally it's almost 2 hours, y'all. We've talked a
And
lot, so um, so with accommodation, I think some general things to take note of as an international student who is looking for housing from your country. First of all, I would say try to reach out to people here first
yeah.
to if they could possibly assist you with that. You can utilize LinkedIn to see who is at your current institution, maybe who identifies in a similar way to you. Maybe you're looking for like an African or somebody if you're from Africa who can help you out. For example, now I think one person reached out to me like from South Africa, and I was able to help them look for accommodation here in Ohio, like in
Mhm.
Columbus. I was able to help them I was able to assist them with that. So that's an option. Another is that some schools have this off commuter student services on their page where you can get information about off-campus housing if you're looking for off-campus housing. A lot of
Mhm.
graduate students, if you're coming as a graduate student, that would be option. If you're coming as an undergraduate student, sometimes schools have this 2 year live on like residency requirement where you
Mhm.
actually have to pay for housing and live on campus. So that's also another thing to take note of. Some schools have on campus housing options for graduate students, and if you're looking for off campus housing, some schools have like the off commuter student or off campus housing web page to assist you with that. Some schools even have an office dedicated to assisting you with that.
Yeah.
And also make search engines your friend. Google, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, whatever search engine you like to utilize the most. Make those your friend. Just Google apartments in Columbus, Ohio, apartments in Austin, Texas. Just do those searches and see like, and then you also want to delineate by close to this location, okay? Because states in the US are very huge. Like, oh my god, Columbus alone, literally you could from or like here some you could find apartments an hour away from here even within Columbus,
Mhm. Yeah.
but you want somewhere close to campus as an international student, so you can do like off-campus housing near Ohio State University if that's something you're looking for. So that way you can delimit your search. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that could also help you as well. And what else can I think of? Like reach out. And also there are these organizations, like organizations that are not really affiliated with the universities that might have some branches
Yeah.
in the location that you're in. Some do all this host. They could host you for like a month,
Mhm.
or for like 3 weeks for like a day. It depends on the organization. I think one is like International Friendships Connections or something like that. That you can try to see which one is close to your institution and take advantage of that. Some offer airport pickup
Yeah.
to help you with settling in. I think just a bunch of options and some things to take note of when you are signing a lease if you do end up deciding as you're searching for accommodation. Be aware of the lease length.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't want to sign anything and just be bound to it. Like that lease is like a contract here in the US, and in order to like just be relieved from it,
Mhm.
pay a lot of money. And also take note of deposits. Some apartments require you to provide deposits of up to the rent amount. It could be up to $1,000, and it's usually the deposit is usually higher for a lot of international students coming here to the US because they don't have anybody to like. They don't have a guarantor. One,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have like a social security number. You don't have a credit score, and you might not have a guarantor who owns the house here in the US who can help you sign.
Yeah.
Um, if you don't have a credit score or a social security number, because those are some things that they require to sign, to sign for an apartment here. So I think just keep that in mind overall. I think lease length, security deposits, location of the apartments,
Mm-hmm.
the cost of the apartment. Also check reviews online, but don't rely solely on reviews because you get confused and you never sign up for any apartment. So yeah, I think what am I missing, Winnie? If you have anything to add.
I think you've covered majority of it. I was also going to mention, even talking to your international office, I know like here at Kent, they provide like a list of some off-campus apartments that are pretty close by. And like Esther mentioned, there are Facebook groups as well that could be helpful. And then if you come here, which I don't advise, but if you're here before you get housing, like there's also like different universities, they'll have like bulletin boards where people post like, looking for a roommate and stuff like that. But there's also websites. There are also like websites or apps. So there's like apartments.com,
Yeah,
there's Zillow. There's also different sites where you can find apartment.
yeah,
But like Esther mentioned, especially if you don't have a car, like it's good to be close to campus. Um, but yeah, I think credit score also having, because I feel like all the apartment that me I've had, they've always been running your credits. So I know like a lot of times for international, so a lot of people come here, you don't have a credit.
hmm
But that's like Esther said, that might make them make you pay more money, basically. But yeah, so I think those are some of the things to think about when you're looking for accommodation. But like, if I know, like some of my friends in undergrad, most of them were American students, so I think they had that luxury. But like our scholarship included housing, but some people wanted to like move in with their boyfriends or their girlfriends, so they would move off campus and pay for housing. Like if your scholarship includes on campus housing, be cool, take it on campus housing. Like don't let that go to waste. Basically. Esther, what's next? What do we want to do next?
I think we just have the last question, and oh yeah, we have some comments.
Oh, we have some comments. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have Cecilia TV who said
Mm.
yay, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
late,
yay. I see
but
that. I'm
thanks for
late.
joining
Welcome.
us.
Exactly. Thanks for joining still. You're never late.
Yeah, so
We were
yeah.
just early. We were early. That's it.
Mhm.
And then someone says, oh, she says, great information, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And Dutton said, good job, guys. It has been very informative. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you.
much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dutton. And then
And
the
yeah.
last one said, thanks for this vital information. Thank you. We appreciate it. And then Peter says, thank you. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for joining.
Yes.
Okay, Esther, over to our last question. Everyone, it's about to
Mhm.
be our last question. So if you have any final questions, anything
Yep.
if it's a question, if it's a comment, or you're just like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, you guys, where have you guys been? Let us know in the comments. But Esther, let's go ahead with the final question.
Advice. What advice do we have for those interested in moving to the US?
This is a
Do
long
you?
one, oh.
I know. See, if you ask me for advice, I could literally spend an hour on giving you advice, but I wouldn't do that to you today. So, I think very important is for you to do your research,
Mm-hmm.
like know what is important to you, know your priorities, know your like must haves or like
Mm-hmm.
maybe things that you can let go of. Like I said, like for me, I had some negotiables and I had some non-negotiables. I think some things I usually like tell people to ask themselves, like, are you open to studying in any city,
Mm-hmm.
any location, any institution, or are you this person that you're like, this, I want this particular standard or something? So establish
Yeah.
your negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
How much money are you willing to spend, first of all, if any, right? How much money do you have, first of all? That way you could kind of figure out maybe institutions that have free application. Some institutions have like free application week for you to take advantage of. They provide full funding, some don't provide full funding. So it's so different and it really differs. And also like what else can I say? I think just take note of the application requirements, application deadline. I think that's really important. Don't over procrastinate, and emphasis on over procrastinate. You can say nothing, don't procrastinate, because I know many people like to procrastinate, okay? But don't overdo it. Try to do it on time, like complete your application on time. Ask, don't be afraid to ask questions. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really, really important. Do not be afraid to ask questions. um and just overall, I think don't doubt yourself. That's one thing I would say, like, do not be afraid to put it all out there. Don't doubt yourself. Don't second guess yourself, and it's fine if you have low grades.
Mm-hmm.
um it's totally fine. Okay, how have you been able to supplement those low grades? You
Yeah.
can provide an explanation on your personal statement. You can talk about your low grades in your personal statement and talk about how you've been able to improve so far, or maybe like what work experience you're doing to augment that, so just don't think like, oh, I have this grade, I can't get it. Don't doubt yourself. First try. Like, think about this. Like, don't say like, what's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen if I try? That's
Mm.
what you should ask yourself.
Okay, motivational
Oh
speaker.
gosh, see, I told you, I start talking, I go off tangent. So let me just stop here and leave some room for you to talk so that we can wrap up this
I don't
conversation.
even think I have any more. Like I feel like you said a lot of the things. But like as I said, the first one is research. Just research, man. Like whatever you want. I feel like in America, it's just getting the information and getting the right information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so making sure that you're researching, making sure that you're asking questions. Like now, Esther and myself, there's other YouTubers, there's Google, there's the universities you're trying to apply to. Like making sure that you're doing your research, and also don't be shy about reaching out to people. We're all here to help each other, to help support each other. So while I might not know the information, I know Esther. Esther might not know the information. She doesn't know the information. She knows other people that might. So don't be afraid to utilize the resources and utilize the people that you have connections with. But I also think it's very important to put in the work. Don't expect that, oh, because you know Esther and myself, that we need to be able to, we'll be the ones to find you the university and then you just apply. Like, you still, this is your experience. It can only be what you make of it. So utilize us as your resources, utilize other people as your resources, but do your own research, At the end of the day, this is your life, this is your story. So put in that work. And then I guess lastly, I would just say it's just like ask questions. If you need help, ask questions, ask people for help. But I think just be sure of what you want. Like if you know that you cannot afford to study in the US, apply to different universities, apply for that funding opportunities that they have. Like that's what I realized. Like after I finished, from WC3, I realized like I can't apply, like I don't have the finances to put myself through my bachelor's. My parents didn't have it at that time. That was how I found out that there were so many universities that offer full funding. So just making sure that you're applying yourself and you're putting 110% into looking for what you want. Like people always say, America is the land of opportunity, and truly it is, but you have to be willing to do the work to get that opportunity. You have to be willing to do the research needed. You have to be willing to ask the tough questions. You also have to be willing to accept no sometimes. No doesn't mean never, it just means no at that particular time. So, yeah.
Another motivational speaker in the house.
Oh, sis, I'm just trying to get on your level, sister. I'm just trying to be on your level.
Okay, yeah, and I think with that, if nobody has any more questions for us, we've come to the end of our live session today. It's an all 2 hours, y'all. We talked for
I
two
know. I can't
hours.
believe it.
Okay, so right, people,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. We're really grateful to have you all here today, supporting us, encouraging us, being our personal eye people,
Right.
But yeah, and what else? Do you have any other thing to say, Winnie?
No, just thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
y'all.
thank you. And you can follow us on our YouTube channel. Mine is Shijus Chronicles. That's the name on the screen. Shijus Chronicles, and then Winnie's is Winning with Winnie.
Mm-hmm. 20 with 20. All right.
Hey, bye,
Thanks,
people. Take
y'all.
care.
Bye.
Bye.